The year is 1652. The North Sea is a realm of mist and shadow. Here, there are no rules. Fleets of wooden giants drift through the cold, gray expanse, their silhouettes emerging from the fog like ghosts. This is not the age of grand naval strategy, of formations and signals understood across miles of open water. This is the era of the First Anglo-Dutch War, a time when combat at sea was a brutal, intimate affair. Imagine the scene. To colossal fleets, English and Dutch, stumble upon each other in the thick, disorienting fog. There are no battle lines. No Grand Admiral's plan can survive contact with this chaos. The Wind is the true commander, pushing these floating fortresses closer and closer until they are mere meters apart. This is naval warfare at its most primitive and terrifying. Ships don't just fight, they collide, grind, and tear at each other. The order to fire a broadside is given. A deafening roar shatters the silence. On a 17th century warship, this is not a distant, sanitized event. The entire vessel lurches, with groaning under the strain as dozens of cannons unleash hell. Iron cannonballs, some weighing over 30 pounds, smash through the enemy's hull just a stone's throw away. Splinters the size of spears fly across the deck, deadlier than any bullet. The air fills with a storm of flying wood, metal, and human flesh. Below deck is a vision of torment. Gunners work in near darkness, their movements a frantic dance of swabbing, loading, and ramming. The heat is suffocating, the air thick with gunpowder smoke that stings the eyes and chokes the lungs. With every enemy hit, the world above them trembles. A cannonball could tear through the deck at any moment, bringing fire and death from above, or smash through the hull near the waterline, unleashing a torrent of icy sea. There is no escape. On the main deck, chaos reigns. The roar of the cannons is constant, a physical force that makes it impossible to hear commands. Captains shout themselves hoarse, their orders lost in the cacophony of battle. Thick, black smoke billows from the guns, mixing with the natural fog to create a blinding veil. You can't see the enemy, you can't see your sister ships, you can barely see the man standing next to you. Ships, now blind and unmanageable, drift into one another. Rigging becomes entangled. What started as a battle has become a brawl. Then comes the fire. A stray spark, a flaming wad from a cannon, lands on a dry sail or a coil of tarred rope. In seconds, flames race up the rigging, devouring the canvas that gives the ship life. The fire spreads with terrifying speed, moving across the tarred wooden decks. Men are faced with an impossible choice: burn alive on deck or jump into the freezing, unforgiving sea. For those trapped below, the smoke becomes a silent killer, or worse, they hear the fire raging above, knowing their fate is sealed. When ships met at this distance, survival became chance. A man's life wasn't determined by his skill or bravery, but by whether he was standing a few feet to the left or right when a cannonball came through the hull. A captain's command of his fleet was an illusion, shattered the moment the first shot was fired. Communication was limited to signal flags that were invisible in the smoke and fog, or small messenger boats that would be torn to shreds in the crossfire. There were no standardized rules of engagement, no concept of surrender that could be safely communicated or trusted. Once locked in this deadly embrace, there was no retreat. You either destroyed the enemy, or you were destroyed. The human cost was staggering. Decks ran slick with blood. The screams of the wounded were drowned out by the thunder of the guns. Surgeons worked in cramped, dimly lit corners, their tools little more than saws and hot irons, performing amputations without anesthetic amidst the shaking and violence of the ongoing fight. Men were crushed by falling masts, burned beyond recognition, or simply vanished, blown apart by a direct hit. The sea swallowed them all, making no distinction between Englishmen and Dutchmen. As the hours wear on, the fighting loses all semblance of purpose. It becomes a desperate, primal struggle for survival. Ships are dismasted, their hulls riddled with holes, leaking water faster than the pumps can clear it. They are floating coffins, still firing their guns even as they begin to sink. The air is heavy with the smell of gunpowder, burning wood, and death. Slowly, as the wind shifts or the guns fall silent one by one, a grim quiet descends. The fog begins to reclaim the scene. Through the haze, we see the aftermath. Ships, blackened and burning, drift aimlessly. Some list heavily, their decks awash with water. Others are nothing more than flaming wrecks, their crews gone. The water is a debris field of shattered timbers, torn sails, and the floating bodies of the dead. There is no victory parade, no triumphant admiral. There is only the silence of the sea and the smoke rising from the pyres of these once mighty warships. In this war, the North Sea did not reward skill or courage alone. It was an impartial executioner, punishing everyone with its cold indifference. These were not battles. They were massacres drifting in fog,